He doesn't love you. He believes he owns you. And if a man believes he owns you, there is no version of this relationship where you stay free. This is about ownership, not insecurity, not attachment wounds, not he just loves you a lot. Ownership. The belief that once you're chosen, partnered, committed, married, moved in, you are no longer fully autonomous, you're his. And that belief explains why nothing you ever did fixed this, why it keeps getting worse, and why your body learns to stay tense even on good days. Let's say you're on the couch with your phone in your hand and you're scrolling. Nothing secret, nothing inappropriate. You're just on your phone like a normal person. And he glances over and he asks, who are you texting? And you answer. He asks why that person needs to talk to you. You say it's work. He goes quiet. Later, he's all short and distant, irritated. And so you start reassuring him, explaining more than necessary, and editing future interactions so this whole little scenario doesn't happen again. And you don't name it as control, even though I want to be clear, this is an example of coercive control. You tell yourself that it's just easier to not poke the bear, right? But something important actually just happened and we skipped right past it. Your access to the outside world became conditional. Now, I'm Lisa Sonni. I'm a relationship coach and I specialize in abusive dynamics, and I work every day with women who are trying to understand why their relationships feel suffocating, even when nobody was yelling, the really covert abuse. Hit subscribe. This channel exists to say the thing that exposes his abuse tactics so that you can actually see clearly. Now, back to the topic here. Ownership almost never shows up as you belong to me. It's very rarely that overt. It shows up as rules that you never agreed to, but you're punished for breaking. Expectations that weren't negotiated, but like weirdly feel enforceable, right? It shows up as consequences and mood shifts and withholding and guilt and anger and coldness or rudeness, pressure, silence, all of it. You don't experience it as a demand first. It's more like an atmosphere. And this is why so many women don't even see it, because it's dressed up as protection, as concern, as values, as seriousness, right? I just care about you. We're taught that a man who is focused on us is invested in us, and that jealousy is passion. I hate that one. That being claimed is somehow being chosen. We're not taught to ask why being chosen suddenly costs us our freedom, right? Ownership should expand, but it never stabilizes. He'll tell you that other men are threats, right? And not because what they might do to you, but really it's because of what they might take from him. I know that's not how he pitches it to you, but that's what's going on. They might take your attention, your admiration, your sexual energy, your sense of self. And I know, trust me, I know he says it's about safety and respect and it's about how men think. Not all men, right? But notice where the concern shows up. It's not when you're overwhelmed or exhausted or emotionally struggling. It's when you're visible, when you're desired, if you're independent. He calls that care. I do not think so. Girl, that is territory management. You're getting dressed to go out. You like what you're wearing, right? And he comments that it's a little revealing. Not even like an overt thing, right? Just, oh, it's a little revealing. He says it lightly. So you hesitate, but you change. He didn't tell you to, but you know how this goes. This is coercive control. You tell yourself it's not even a big deal, but I'm telling you, your body clocks it. Your comfort just lost to his comfort. And you made a little trade and you don't even realize it, but that trade is going to keep showing up. And this belief shows up so clearly around sex. I hate having this conversation framed this way, but you're going to see yourself in this, I bet. You're in bed, you're tired, you say no, you're calm. There's no drama, right? But his energy completely changes and he sighs. He turns away. Maybe he makes a comment about feeling rejected or he sulks. Maybe he pressures you. Maybe he demands that you give it to him. Maybe he reminds you, oh, it's been 3 days, it's been 3 weeks, whatever. And eventually, there it is, right? That's the calculation, the math, bringing up the calendar. So you think, if I just do this, he'll be in a better mood. Now, this moment, it matters so much more than any label that you're going to put on it. Listen to what's actually happening. Consent that exists to manage somebody else's emotional reaction, that's not consent. It's compliance. We're going to call that non-consensual sex, but there is a 4-letter word for that. Just wanted to tell you. Ownership assumes access, and he believes that. That's the difference, right? In his mind, your body is not neutral. It's not yours. It's ours, he'll say, right? It's part of us. It came with the relationship. It now belongs to us. But read him. Marriage, commitment, living together, doesn't matter. Being his. Once that belief exists, coercion to him, it's not harm. He doesn't see it that way. It registers as entitlement being enforced. It's mine, and I don't know why you're not giving it to me. It belongs to me. I am entitled to this. And it sounds like a lot of different things, right? This is part of being in a marriage. This is what it means. Why are we in a relationship if we're not going to do this anytime I want? This is a cultural belief, and it stems from entitlement. He thinks he owns you. Now, let's back this up. Women were property for most of recorded history, right? Let's not pretend anything different here. Literally. Transferred from father to husband. Marriage was a contract between men. A woman's sexuality, fertility, labor, obedience, all of it. It is an asset. Protection has never been about her freedom. It was about preventing theft. Men are not protectors, they're territorial, preventing other men from accessing what was owned. And people hear this and they're like, oh my God, that was so long ago. No, it wasn't. It wasn't that long ago. And the beliefs from when this was actually law, that's still here. That didn't disappear. They stopped being called ownership and started being called love and leadership and protection and commitment. You're just repackaging it. Women in many Western countries couldn't even open a bank account or get a credit card or secure a loan without her husband's permission until the 1970s. Marital rape wasn't even illegal until the 1990s in the USA and the 80s in Canada. This really isn't that long ago. And none of this framework just disappears, but it does modernize. Men are still socialized to see women as status. Having a woman signals success, right? Keeping her, that proves his dominance. Losing control over her, ooh, he's a failure, right? He's not a real man. And that's why abusive men react so strongly to boundaries, because boundaries are not requests for mutual respect to them. It's an act of defiance. And he owns you, and you don't get to be defiant. Now, notice how he doesn't behave this way with other men. He doesn't monitor his male friends. He doesn't feel entitled to their time or their bodies, right? He doesn't sulk when his coworkers don't give him attention, or if Kevin's not free for beers on Friday night. He doesn't demand emotional caretaking from peers. The behavior is targeted. Do you see that? It's directional. It tells you everything about intent without even saying a word. You can see it. Men don't feel they own other men. Even in really close male friendships, there's no assumption of access. You don't owe your friend's time. You don't feel entitled to his body. You don't interpret his independence as betrayal. And even in male gay relationships, control can exist. Obviously, abuse can exist. Don't get me wrong. But there's no cultural script that says men belong to men. There's no historical, legal, or religious framework that positioned men as transferable property to other men. But this belief attaches to women, and that's the difference. You challenge him in front of other people, and he'll feel humiliated. You say no, you've disrespected him. You get more confident, he feels threatened. None of these reactions are about closeness. It's hierarchy. Ownership can't tolerate equality. You get that, right? So let's put this back into your real life. You're at a family gathering. He makes a joke, obviously at your expense. What other joke would he make? And it lands kind of awkwardly. People in the room laugh. You feel small. So you do the brave thing. Later, you say, that bothered me. And he immediately tells you you're too sensitive. He says that you embarrassed him by bringing it up, right? You're making a problem out of nothing. God. So you drop it. But I'm telling you, you learn something here. The lesson stays. Your dignity is less important than his image. Ownership requires your silence. That's what they expect. He'll tell you it's not that deep because it benefits him for you to think that. But that's just really clear gaslighting. This belief is reinforced everywhere, just everywhere. Religion that frames men as leaders and women as helpers. Purity culture that treats female sexuality as something to be guarded and managed. Media romanticizes obsession and jealousy and insecurity. And marriage scripts, right? It frames sex as duty, and endurance as some kind of virtue. For women, of course. Language that calls women his other half instead of whole. She's not his other half. Think about where that expression came from. Abusive men did not invent this worldview, but they do depend on it. They lean into it. They exploit the fact that women have been conditioned to see self-erasure as love. So you adapt because, hey, adaptation is how humans survive power imbalances. You edit yourself. You're anticipating his moods. You're walking on eggshells. You're avoiding topics. You're thinking about what words trigger him. These are the damn eggshells that you constantly hear people talking about. You make yourself smaller and you call it being understanding, right? Compromise. But what you're actually doing is managing the cost of existing as a person next to someone who believes that you belong to them. And this is why communication never worked. You thought the problem was misunderstanding, right? You just explained yourself better. If you just reassured him more, maybe if you proved your loyalty, he would finally feel secure. Oh, his ex really did a number on him, whatever. Security is not the goal of ownership. Control is. And control does not relax when you comply. I'm telling you, it tightens. You give more, he expects more. You shrink further, he goes higher. You're out with friends, your phone buzzes. I know this story way too well, right? Where are you? Who's there? When are you coming home? And you respond really fast because you know what happens if you don't. Maybe he never even directly threatens if you don't, but you know what happens. So you feel pulled completely out of your body, out of the moment. Later, he's going to accuse you of being distant, right? You've changed. You're going to start questioning yourself. But surveillance is not about closeness, right? You have to see this as about dominance. Oh, I just want to keep you safe. Sure, bud. Sure. Even if he's not texting you with all these questions, maybe he'll give you the silent treatment because you went out. Control shows up in so many different ways. Ownership increases risk when it's challenged. Men who believe that they own women react very differently to loss than rejection. Leaving isn't experienced as a breakup. They actually feel a lot more like it's theft. That's why your boundaries provoke rage. It's why separation escalates behavior, and this guy sees it as justified. That's why kindness suddenly appears when you pull away, because ownership doesn't dissolve just because you're done. If he's not done, then you don't get to just leave. That's why abusive men are wielding this whole women choose their own happiness over their family's crap. You don't get to be happy if he still wants you trapped and miserable. You belong to him and he gets to decide. Now, ownership also shows up through money, right? He questions your spending and monitors your income. He tells you he's not being controlling, he's just being responsible, right? I'm the leader. This is just practicality. Finances are just another leash that these guys rope around your neck. Another way to make independence too expensive for you. It's a way for you to keep negotiating for access to your own life and your own autonomy. Girl, you could make more money than him, the same, less, or work inside the home for no money of your own. It doesn't matter. He owns you. You stop making decisions freely. You ask permission. You justify. You feel guilty for wanting more. And slowly, your life becomes something you have to earn approval for. And this belief costs you knowledge and confidence over time. You could lose friendships, your career, your health, your ability to trust your own perception. And the longer you stay, the more normal it starts to feel. You can't even remember what it was like to exist without monitoring yourself. And none of this changes because it's not a misunderstanding. It's not poor communication. We always talk about this as insecurity. No, reassurance is not going to fix this. This is a worldview that places women here and men here, in fact, probably more like here, right? And then we call this love. Healthy men interrogate this belief, right? They unlearn it. And these men exist. Not all men, right? They are not threatened by autonomy. A truly good man doesn't equate love with access. They don't confuse partnership with possession of a woman. Abusive men, they depend on this belief because without it, their behavior just falls apart. She Rises Collective is my online community where I support women week after week while they're seeing this clearly, and we help you stay oriented. We got group coaching, education, community, real-time support 24/7. It's really a place to keep your footing while everything in your mind kind of reorganizes and you make decisions. Now, if you're still attached, still pulled back or still stuck, still struggling, then you can join the Trauma Bond Recovery Group Coaching Program that I co-host with Dr. Peter Salerno. Here, we break the attachment to an abusive partner by dismantling the belief system and all the conditioning that keeps you tied to someone who literally believes they own you. And we do it over 12 weeks of structured education. Hit subscribe. This work does not soften the truth because women pay way too high a price when it does. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.